Om Namah Sri Jatirajaye Vivekananda Surai Satchit Sukha Sarupaya Swami Tapoharine. So, I'm reading from Teachings of Swami Vivekananda, a book published by Advaita Ashrama, Kolkata. Today's chapter is Bhakti, or the love of God. Bhakti Yoga is a real, genuine search after the Lord, a search beginning, continuing, and ending in love. One single moment of the madness of extreme love to God brings us eternal freedom. Bhakti is intense love to God. When a man gets it, he loves all, hates none, he becomes satisfied forever. This love cannot be reduced to any earthly benefit, because so long as worldly desires last, that kind of love does not come. Bhakti is greater than karma, greater than yoga, because these are intended for an object in view, while bhakti is its own fruition, its own means, and its own end. The one great advantage of bhakti is that it is the easiest and the most natural way to reach the great divine end in view. Its great disadvantage is that in its lower forms it often times degenerates into hideous fanaticism. That singleness of attachment to a loved object, without which no genuine love can grow, is very often also the cause of the denunciation of everything else. All the weak and underdeveloped minds in every religion or country have only one way of loving their own ideal, that is, by hating every other ideal. Herein is the explanation of why the same man who is so lovingly attached to his own ideal of God, so devoted to his own ideal of religion, becomes a howling fanatic as soon as he sees or hears anything of any other ideal. In every mind, utility is conditioned by its own peculiar wants. To men, therefore, who never rise higher than eating, drinking, begetting progeny, and dying, the only gain is in sense enjoyments, and they must wait and go through many more births and reincarnations to learn to fill even the faintest necessity for anything higher. But those to whom the eternal interests of the soul are of much higher value than the fleeting interests of this mundane life, to whom the gratification of the senses is but like the thoughtless play of the baby, to them God and the love of God form the highest and the only utility of human existence. There is bhakti within you, only a veil of lust and wealth covers it. And as soon as that is removed, bhakti will manifest by itself. One way for attaining bhakti is by repeating the name of God a number of times. Mantras have effect, the mere repetition of words. To obtain bhakti, seek the company of holy men who have bhakti, and read books like the Gita and the imitation of Christ. Always think of the attributes of God, but theorizing about God will not do. We must love and walk. Give up the world and all worldly things, especially while the plant is tender. Day and night think of nothing else as far as possible. The daily necessary thoughts can all be thought through God. Eat to Him, drink to Him, sleep to Him, see Him in all. Talk to God, talk of God to others. This is most beneficial. Get the mercy of God and His greatest children. These are the two chief ways to God. The company of these children of light is very hard to get. 5 minutes in their company will change a whole life. And if you really want it enough, one will come to you. The presence of those who love God makes a place holy. Such is the glory of the children of the Lord. They are He, and when they speak, their words are scriptures. The place where they have been becomes filled with their vibrations, and those going there feel them and have a tendency to become holy also. Bhakti Yoga does not say give up, it only says love, love the highest, and everything low naturally falls off from Him, the object of whose love is the highest. In Bhakti Yoga, the first essential is to want God honestly and intensely. We want everything but God because our ordinary desires are fulfilled by the external world. So long as our needs are confined within the limits of the physical universe, we do not feel any need for God. It is only when we have had hard blows in our lives and are disappointed with everything here that we feel the need for something higher. Then we seek God. Bhakti is not destructive. It teaches that all our faculties may become means to reach salvation. We must turn them all towards God and give to Him that love which is usually wasted on the fleeting objects of sense. Bhakti differs from your Western idea of religion in that Bhakti admits no elements of fear, no being to be appeased or propitiated. There are even bhaktas who worship God as their own child, so that there may remain no feeling even of awe or reverence. There can be no fear in true love, and so long as there is the least fear, bhakti cannot even begin. In bhakti, there is also no place for begging or bargaining with God. The idea of asking God for anything is sacrifice to a bhakta. He will not pray for health or wealth, or even to go to heaven. We all have to begin as dualists in the religion of love. God is to us a separate being, and we feel ourselves to be separate beings also. Love then comes in the middle, and the man begins to approach God, and God also comes nearer and nearer to man. Man takes up all the various relationships of life as father, as mother, as son, as friend, as master, as lover, and projects them on his ideal of love, on his God. To him, God exists as all these, and the last point of his progress is reached when he feels that he has become absolutely merged in the object of his worship. We all begin with love for ourselves, and the unfair claims of the little self make even love selfish. At last, however, comes the full blaze of light in which this little self is seen to have become one with the infinite. Man himself is transfigured in the presence of this light of love, and he realizes at last the beautiful and inspiring truth that love, the lover, and the beloved are one. The path of devotion is natural and pleasant. Philosophy is taking the mountain stream back to its source by force. It is a quicker method but very hard. Philosophy says, check everything. Devotion says, give up all to the stream. Have eternal self surrender. It is a longer way, but easier and happier. Leave inimical thoughts aside if you want to have permanent bhakti. Hatred is a thing which greatly impedes the course of bhakti, and the man who hates none reaches God. If a man does not get food one day, he is troubled. If his son dies, how agonizing it is to him. The true bhakta feels the same pangs in his heart when he yearns for God. The great quality of bhakti is that it cleanses the mind, and the firmly established bhakti for the Supreme Lord is alone sufficient to purify the mind. Of all renunciations, the most natural, so to say, is that of the bhakti yogi. Here, there is no violence, nothing to give up, nothing to tear off, as it were, from ourselves, nothing from which we have violently to separate ourselves. The Bhakta's renunciation is easy, smooth, flowing, and as natural as the things around us. So I stop here for today with the pranam mantra. परो तत्ते सदा लीन रामकृष्ण समग्रया जो धर्म स्थापन रत विदेशं तं नममहम्.